We're going to start with a budget presentation.
So we're going to welcome Dr. Chan back to the mic to do our budget presentation, part 2.
Good evening, Board of Education, Putnam Valley community. First, I want to thank my staff because this is the only time I get to thank them. Matthew, my treasurer, Debbie, Karen, and Cynthia, and also thank the IT department who helped me try to do this in the best IA presentation that we could. So, this is the summary of everything that's going on with the budget. The proposed budget for the next year, 26-27, is $65,254,332. Our proposed budget-to-budget increase is 3.04%, and the proposed tax increase is 1.98%. I wanted to tell you that this next 2 slides are the slides that we use to determine the formula to figure out the property tax cap. And I tried to simplify it as much as I can, and this is our situation here.
Bless you.
We start with the prior year tax levy, and then we have a tax-based growth factor, which is specific to Putnam Valley. This year, it's only 1.0%. Then we subtract the prior year capital exclusions, which are a number of formula numbers that go into this $2,195,647. We come to the adjusted prior year tax levy. And to that, we multiply the allowable levy tax growth factor, the lesser of the CPI, or 2%. This is the 2% that you keep reading about in the newspaper. Then we come up with the tax levy limitation before exclusions. And to that, we have a few numbers that go into this current year capital exclusions, which we add back to the tax levy limit before exclusions, and we come up with the maximum allowable proposed tax levy limit. This year, that number, due to all the calculation, comes out to 1.98%. And in dollars, that means that we will be able to increase our levy with the dollar amount of $844,363. This is a historical tax cap inflation factor. I know that a lot of people like to see what has been happening over the last 10 years. And in 26-27, the CPI is going to be 2.64%, but we were limited to the 2% in the tax cap calculation.
I did that.
Like some people like to see in a graph form, that orange line across is what the tax levy has been, and the graph going up and down, the blue is what the inflation factor is. Okay, so we will get a maximum allowable tax levy limit of $43,412,658. We have to make up the difference in revenues in other areas. Just wanted to show you what the tax cap is for our neighboring school district. This is what they come up with when they do their own calculation. However, I'm listening to some of the other business officials, and I'm finding out that there are some districts that intend to pierce the cap. We are nowhere near that. We are safely at 1.98%. So these are some of the key drivers when we're putting the budget together. We're looking at the contractual salaries. We're in negotiations this year. There's increase in the health insurance. There are state mandated benefit increases. We're looking at transportation and operational overhead costs. There's instructional program needs and updates, and we continue to invest in the comprehensive student services. This is a graph that will show you the difference in the state aid comparison of our neighboring school districts. And we're right there in yellow, Putnam Valley. And we have an increase in the state aid of $773,981, which is not a lot of money, but I'm always grateful when the state aid did not go down. Here's a comparison of the neighboring school districts again. And there we are down on the bottom with $17,034,000 from year to year. It's a comparison of last year's state aid to this year. This is the enrollment of our school district just in one snapshot of the whole school. A lot of people like to ask me about the cost per student versus the enrollment. And this graph shows you what that is. There are a lot of components that go into figuring out what is in this cost. And I just wanted to highlight, I get these numbers from the transparency report. And in there is the transportation, the charter school tuition. These are the items that are excluded from this cost report: the transportation, the charter school tuition, other tuition, debt service, and other. These are our proposed revenue sources, a comparison from last year to this year. So you see state aid over there, we have a 4.72% increase. Our taxes is 1.98% increase, is what we went over before on the tax cap. We have other local revenues, about increase of 49.55%, and a transfer in from debt service. This is where we're using some of our reserves from the debt service, and the capital projects that were closed. And then we have using some of our fund balance and reserves. So this is how the budget-to-budget increase comes out to 3.04%. This is a pie chart showing you the same information as we just went over on the revenue sources. This is also revenue, but I'm highlighting that under the miscellaneous revenues, Garrison represents 28% of our other revenues, and this is because we're bringing Garrison kids to be taught here in Putnam Valley. This is a three-part budget when we just divide up where most of the expenses are being used, and that would be program is 76%, which is what we want it to be. We have a proposed 26-27 budget expenses, and this is divided up by the categories that I'm asked to do when we report it to the state. With instruction, we spend 52%, transportation is 7%, interfund transfers, that would be transfer to capitals, and money that we put into grants. There's a general support of $6.3 million and undistributed of $18 million. So we're investing in the people who educate our students. 71% of the budget is the salaries and the benefits. Okay. The remaining 29% funds all the facilities, the operations, special education programs, debt service, technology, and transportation. This is a line by line of where we expect to spend the budget next year. And again, you'll see in red, 71% of the salaries and benefits. And you'll notice there are some things that do go down. For example, special education has gone down by around $500,000. We do look at every line when we put the budget together. We do not just roll over the budget from year to year. This is a project that we are planning to put in the outside of the wellness center. This is a project that's going to happen in the summer. The district received a $60,000 grant from outside source, and then this is the $5,000 from the Booster Club and $5,000 from the Putnam Valley Education Foundation. This will be accessible to the public when it's put in. And hopefully we can attract more Garrison kids because we're the only ones that will have this here. This is some of the artwork that's going to go on this wall of the outside court. Another picture here. And here's a list of capital projects, which I'm sure that our facility director at some point will be going over. The next steps and the May 19th budget vote, which is an important date, and this is our proposition. Any questions? All of this will be online. I did not expect anyone to memorize any of my numbers.
I do have a couple questions. So in our the meeting that we just had, there was talk about the debt reserve funds and the $4 million. Can you just talk to that so we could get ahead of the information and make sure we get the correct information out?
Right. So there is a debt surf reserve, sort of, that was in existence before anyone in this room was in administration here. And it was probably consists of many projects over the years. And then when the money is there, we have to add interest to it because we earn interest. That has grown to about $4 million when I came here last year. And we use that money every year that I've been here. We use it to help balance the budget, because when we don't get enough funding from other sources, then I have to look within our reserves to spend that money. So this year, we are spending a considerable amount of that, and that would be going down. It would be reflected in the financials each year. You will see that $4 million going down. And when I first came, I had to investigate what it was, and we can't just pull the money out. We have to make sure the projects were in fact completed, and we had to find out where the project money comes from, and that's how it gets returned. So the external auditors are evaluating that with me every year, and then as I need money to balance the budget, we are pulling it out, and it's a discussion that the superintendent and I have all the time.
Thank you. So on slide 15, you have the fund balance and reserves, and it's $1.2 million. Did that come out of that $4 million?
Okay, 15. So that's a different reserve that I'm using.
Okay.
We have reserves for ERS, which I am allowed to pull out the money and use that to pay for the ERS bill instead of, again, asking the taxpayers for more money. Where you see the transfer in from debt service and capital project, that's the number in there. Basically, it's the $795,610.
Okay.
Some of it is a small amount. I think it was $55 from a small capital project that happened recently, and I'm keeping on top of those projects to close them out and bring the money back into the operating fund. But most of that was from part of the $4 million.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong column when I said the total, so thank you for that. Thank you for the explanation, appreciate it. One more question now. And I don't expect you to have this answered, although you may. Do we know what the BOCES component of our budget increase is year over year for this year?
I do have that. I don't have it on my slide, but I can definitely give that to you.
Okay,
I
but it
prepared that.
is an increase, just to confirm.
I think off the top of my head, if it increased, it would be a little bit. We
Okay.
pretty much stay even when we try to use the BOCES as much as we can, because as you know, we get our BOCES aid back.
Great.
So we, as a whole in the district, we always look at trying to use the BOCES as a source.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, I just had one question that I think would be helpful for the public to know. Thank you, Dr. Chen, you always do such a nice job, and these graphs are really, really, really helpful this year to be able to really understand, where the money is going. The $18 million on slide 19 that says undistributed, can you talk a little bit about what goes into that particular portion of the budget?
Right, I don't have that off the top of my head right now. I can get that back to you, but it has things like the current debt service. There's some benefits in there, things like that.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
but I can get that for you.
Great.
So I have the answer to the first question because Dr. Chan keeps very meticulous notes. So I opened up your spreadsheet. So the proposed BOCES budget for this year versus last year, our adopted budget was $4.975 million, and our proposed budget for next year is $5.532 million. So it's an increase of $557,000 in our BOCES budget from last year to this year.
Thank you.
And Crystal, if you don't mind, I'll go back to my seat and look at my budget things. I'll have the answers to undistributed before the end of the meeting.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I
Okay.
just think it's helpful for the community to know what undistributed really
Right.
means.
Well,
for
Right.
the
I mean, that would cover insurances, things like that.
Yes,
that,
yes.
That you don't know the amount yet, but you will be billed for it later on.
Well, I have to have projected an amount by now.
Right.
But what happens is what qualifies as undistributed, it's just a definition that the state gives me when they want to know all these pieces and where they are. So
Right.
it's a definition. So when I go back to my seat, I can list it out for you exactly what's in
Perfect.
there.
That would be great. I think it's good for the community to know.
Thank you.
Fair to say that's a terrible word. It's not $18 million that's there just waiting to be used. It's not
Correct.
distributed. It's more so centralized expenses versus unexpended expenses. So
Right. And I think the important part for the community to know is that it's a term that we have to use per the state, that the state defines. It's not something that we just said is an arbitrary amount of money that's just sitting there. And I think that's the reason why I feel like Dr. Chan should, just go over what's included in that and what the state says is the definition of undistributed funds. So that people know when they're looking at these charts online, hopefully they do their research about what our budget is all about this year. that they have a better understanding of what that means.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, there was one thing I was just going to clarify. While we had an increase in state aid on the slide of $700 and something thousand, I just want to point out that of that, less than $100,000 of that is true aid that comes in the form of foundation aid. I think our foundation aid increase right now is about $96,000. So the other $600 something thousand, yes, it's coming in as aid, but that aid is reimbursement for expenses for the previous year. Right, so 600 plus thousand of that is expense-based aid, whether it be transportation aid, BOCES aid, any of the other aids that they offer. So those are really expenses we expended last year, and that's kind of our reimbursement coming in. But if you look at true foundation aid, which is actual money we're getting from the state, not based upon a previous expense, it's under $100,000.
So, Crystal, I have the answer here. It's most of the employee benefits is like 16 million, and that includes the ERS, the TRS, Social Security, workers' comp, life insurance, unemployment insurance, health insurance, union welfare, and the compensated absences. In addition, they have me add in the debt service and also the installment purchases.
Perfect,
All
thank
that
you.
equals the 18 million.
Thank you so
Because
much.
When people think instruction, they think that includes all of teachers' salaries and stuff,
Right.
and it doesn't. If they're.
So
Distributed
essentially,
Right, the undistributed is.
it might be able to be said that I'm trying to look for the slide. What slide is that?
That
Let's
the
see.
instruction is 76%.
That the instruction,
yeah.
correct, is really the vast majority of the budget, even when you break it down like that.
I think the true percentage
Right.
of the budget that goes directly towards instruction is typically between 74 and 76% of the overall budget.
Right.
If you take the benefits piece for instruction
Right.
plus the salary piece of instruction and add those up,
Yep.
it comes out to over usually 75% of the budget.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen.
Next year, I'll include a slide to specifically list all that.
Thank you.
We could add it for the next, it'll mix it up a little bit for the next presentation. We'll add one slide. We'll focus on that one slide.
Well, if you just broke the undistributed up into benefits and retirement, you would see
Yeah.
a huge difference. Okay. Students, do you have, I know that budget is like, the numbers make my eyes roll back in my head, so, but do you have any questions or comments on how we're spending our money?
I don't really understand the outside thing.
What do you mean?
Like, the thing that's going outside?
So
the-
it's an outdoor fitness court. We got a grant to cover a substantial part of it. So it's going to be out by the wellness center where the wellness trail comes through over there, kind of where the garden is now. We're going to move the garden.
Like there?
Yep, back behind the wellness center. So the garden's going to move. It's going to go there. And it's kind of an outdoor fitness area. There'll be like a pull-up bar station, a dip station, other stuff like that, where whether community members using the trail want to stop and exercise or classes could go out there. Just kind of, it's all standing exercise type equipments, boxes you could jump up on, things like that.
Interesting.
I'll expect you out there every day demonstrating. I'll get SAS hooked you up with you.
Yeah, I've seen them other places on other trails, so.
In fact, the town park recently put something similar
Yeah,
in the town
that's
park.
right.
Yeah.